Well, good morning. Who do I have with me today?
I'm Lisa Sunshine.
Lisa Sunshine. Thank you
Yes.
for your time. I
Thank
really appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And thank COhatch for letting me use this room.
For sure.
And I hate to say it, but I've missed the boat on you. How did I miss the boat the first time, second time you emailed? How did we miss? I'm so
I
sorry.
think you're just moving at the speed of light, just being the agent of change you are.
Well, thank
And there's
you.
just so many people, that you come into contact with and you want to connect with, and so much happening, in Lakeland that is so, so cool. And I think, things happen, but as fate would have it and our faith would have
There
it,
you go.
here we are.
That's right. I'm just scrolling down the street and say, what? A jazz festival in Lakeland? What in the world is this?
Jazz in Lakeland.
Heck yeah. So tell us more about jazz. This jazz festival is happening in January?
January 20th and 21st, Swan City Jazz Festival will be happening in Mon Park, downtown. It's a Grammy Award-winning weekend.
Oh, wow.
Multi-Grammy Award-winning weekend. Julian Vaughn is just all over the world, and he will be in Lakeland on January 20th. He's our headliner for Saturday night. And then come Sunday is Lanny Bastatini, is a Latin jazz pianist, multi-Grammy award-winning musician as well. I love jazz. It's a big deal to me, but I was asked to take the reins and build it and grow it. Former Commissioner Philip Walker and Ashley Troutman had a deal where ML King weekend, they started doing this Jazz in the Park thing. And they said, hey, we're going to be going in a different direction. And so we need someone who can kind of take this and grow it and make it really, really nice. And I said, I don't want to do that. We're just really, as a foundation, we want to just focus on sneakers and hygiene items and socks, for kids in crisis. That's our sweet spot,
And tell me more about the benefits.
Well, our foundation is the Blended Family Foundation.
Blended Family Foundation.
BFF.
Oh, that's a cute little acronym.
Yeah. And so our youngest daughter came up with that name. And so our kids wanted us to have a reality TV show, because I know some folks in Hollywood and some folks connected to Oprah and different studios.
Wow.
And they were like, no, we're just so fun and crazy. We can have our own reality show. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. That's just too invasive. I don't want to do that. And so she says, well, at some point you're going to do something. I said, well, I think we will do a nonprofit organization, because we really do want to help blended families blend well. We want to see that happen. And but we didn't use the name for that, because within about 2 months we were dealing with a tragedy, and knew even then, golly, the name coming to her, as a kid in 8th grade, that name coming to her, the Blended Family Foundation, we never knew, and I could have never imagined in a million years that we would need the name for what we're using it for. But May 2nd, 2016, our son was hit and killed crossing the street to catch his school bus. And he had just turned 17 that week.
That week?
That week. He had just turned 17. And the day before his passing, we had a really, really cool conversation with Kaylen. And it's just something we did on the kids or near the kids' birthdays. We just sat down with them and hung out. How am I doing as a mom? How am I doing as a dad? Like, what are you interested in? What do you want to
catch me up?
Yeah. What do you want to sink your teeth into this coming year? How's your faith? Where are you in the Lord? Like, what's this is one-on-one time with mom and dad, and I'm bonus mom. So it was really cool, because as a life coach, I delve a little deeper. Guys can be kind of surface sometimes.
Sure, of course. We hold a lot in.
Yeah. And so during that conversation, it was so beautiful. Bring your laptop, Kaylen. I'm going to bring mine. We're going to dive deep, because you're a junior, and where are we? What's going on? How are we going to do this,
right.
And, his dad said, even, from elementary school, he said, I'm going to do business. I'm going to major in business. That's what I'm going to do when I go to college. And nothing changed. He said the same thing. His dad said, hey, how are you doing with that business administration thought? He said, great. I want to stick there. I want to stay there. And he says, so what type of job, are you going to get here? He says, I don't know. I'll work at Salvation Army.
If that's what he enjoys.
And my husband said, honey, son, you have a fetish for very, very expensive sneakers. Tell me how you're going to pay for those very expensive sneakers when you're not getting report card money anymore.
Reality check.
Yes. And he was like, well, let me think about that.
You might have a point.
Yeah.
Aren't you going to buy them for me?
Right,
Aren't you going to buy them for me?
We never bought our kids expensive sneakers. That was just something we never did in our household. Either they were going to earn it with report card money or they were going to work and earn it some kind of way. But we were not going to spend more than $50 on sneakers.
Me neither. Same way. I'm the same way. These are $10 Walmart sneakers. I'm not a collector.
And so he said, man, that's a good idea. And so my husband said, out of all the places, where would Salvation Army come up? He says, well,
donations?
No, he said, well, when we go there on half off days, on Wednesdays, those people are really, really nice. And he said, yeah, but those people are probably barely making a livable wage. He says, you probably want to rethink that. And he said, but they're helping people. He said, Salvation Army does the most good or something like that. He was quoting
defending them.
He was quoting their tagline, doing the most good.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that is really cool that you even remember that, And I said, well, what about, what are you gonna minor in? And he said, well, I never thought about that. Everybody's just talking, what's your major? What's your major? What's your major? And I said, well, if you have a heart for Salvation Army, maybe you should minor in nonprofit management. And he said, well, what does that mean? So we started looking up stuff on USF and UCF, and he loved the program at USF. And at that time, we lived we were off of Clubhouse Road in Summerlin Hills. We had just moved there. And we had a guest house, 3-bedroom guest home. And he said, well, if you guys let me stay here, and go to school, I could go to USF and not have to worry about the Orlando traffic. And they had a really, really, really nice program there for nonprofit management. And I said, well, who are you going to help? Like, what are you going to do with that? And he says, I don't know. A lot of people need help, He says, I don't know, probably kids. Probably kids. I said, well, why kids? Adults need help too. I said, if adults don't get help and they have children, the kids are going to suffer. And he said, I don't know. Sometimes I think we should just get to the kids. Just skip the adults, get to the kids. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, because kids shouldn't suffer at the hands of adults who do really stupid stuff. I said, wow.
He's right.
That is so profound. And if you knew Kaylen, he was a very, very coy kind of fella. He was large in stature. He was, just hit about 6 feet and had a growth spurt over about a year, but had thinned out quite a bit because he loved to run.
Oh, okay.
And so his running shoes and, all of that, it was a big deal to him. And lost about 30 pounds, grew about, 6 inches or so,
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, I think that's what I would do. I would lean into the kids. I said, well, what would you do? Would it be tutoring? Would it be after school help? What would it be? He says, I don't know, just basic stuff, sneakers, socks, deodorant, shampoo.
Yeah, the basics. Just providing the basics.
I was like, really? He was like, you have no idea, Ma. Like, it's a big deal. Kids at George Jenkins, he was like, it's supposed to be the A school, B school. He was like, but there are a lot of kids going through because their parents are doing really, really dumb things.
Wow.
And that was on Sunday evening. And Monday morning, he was gone.
Well, at least you got that. His dreams.
Oh my gosh.
His insight.
Oh my gosh. And I share that with so many parents because the age that we're living in now, it's so technical, it's so virtual that eye-to-eye contact and sit-down conversations with our next generation, you just don't see it anymore. Mm-hmm. And I believe this is the time that we must lean into our children. As adults, we cannot allow the virtual world to take over what the human connection brings. because there's without human connection, without that that pull toward um, um, relationship, kids think that you can pick up a phone or pick up a tablet or pick up a computer and you can be engaged all day long, but those conversations with our kids when they were teenagers were so meaningful. I mean, it literally gave us great insight on how to pray for them, what was going on that they really weren't sharing in just day-to-day life, and if we had not had that conversation, I don't know how we would have been able to grieve losing such an incredible kid. I don't know how we would have been able to get through it.
Well, I don't know how you did. I can't imagine. Can't imagine.
There's no way to imagine it.
There is no, there isn't.
There is no way to
That's
imagine
right.
that on Sunday evening you are applying for college and you get the email response back, the next day, and that same child is now gone.
Yeah.
USF replied the next day and said, we got your application, for the college tour. We'd love to have you. We're looking forward to meeting you, Kaylen. And getting that email, it was just so shocking, even for senior pictures that year, he gets the card, the
Reminder.
studio, the studio is sending the and you get those tidbits of little things that come, the day after, week after, months after, and it's a realization that we are living this nightmare.
So after this tragedy, you guys created the blended family
Yes.
in his name.
Yes.
Okay.
In his honor.
And so what does blended family do with the resources that they receive?
It's all about shoes.
Okay, it's about
it's all
shoes.
about sneakers. It's all about sneakers, socks, and hygiene items. Those very things that Kaylen shared with us, just hours before his death. And that's what we do. So we started out real grassroots and literally, 90 days to the date of his passing, we had a big gathering at our home and we prayed and we just said, hey, this is what we're going to do. This conversation that we had with Kaylen is going to be the mission, and that is to help kids in crisis. And so we started, of course, with just our family and friends going out and buying sneakers. And we just called around the different schools that were closest to us and had, heard about Kaylen and the accident and things like that. So Scott Lake Elementary, Blake Academy, Jesse Keene Elementary, just every school we could think of. The Lakeland community, that's where we started. And again, just a grassroots thing, and different corporations started hearing about us and said, hey, are you guys a nonprofit organization? Are you a 501c3? Because, we're going to be, contributing in a large amount. And so my husband said, let's do it. We'll apply. And we already had the name because just months later, prior, our daughter, Kennedy, created that name, literally came in from church and says, I'm going to be the winner. I got it. This is the name. And literally 2.5 months later, 3 months later, we needed that. We needed that name. And we applied, and within months, we had that designation from the IRS. And we just, from there, decided that we would be very methodical in how we made sure that kids in crisis had a very nice pair of sneakers, 2 pair of socks. So we do a thin pair of socks and a thicker pair of socks. So as the kid grows into those sneakers, however it goes, they may need them. They may be a little big. And then when they're growing out of them, they need, thicker pair of socks. And so very, very early on, Fit Niche, Rich Wills was just a humongous supporter of ours. And so Fit Niche used to be a shoe store at Lakeside Village. He had 3 locations throughout Tampa Bay. And he donated thousands of pairs of sneakers to us. Awesome. Every type of New Balance, Hoka's, you name it, and we were able to pick up boxes and boxes of shoes and distribute throughout Polk County schools. So
since then, have you been growing? Has the community been giving? Is it growing?
Well, we went from doing very, very well, and then the pandemic happened. And so once the pandemic happened, it's almost like we had to start over.
Yeah, everybody.
I
started this
Yeah.
in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah, we had to start over because the momentum that we were about to take off, and then, it goes right back down and you start over. And so for a nonprofit organization that is run by community volunteers and, of course, mom and dad, it takes a lot of energy for
Time.
Distribution, And so we partnered with the Tassel program, but that was before the pandemic. And so the Tassel Project is a community-based organization within the school district. And so what we found out is that there are a lot of donations that were coming into the Tassel Project, but shoes, sneakers specifically, was an item that was MIA. They needed sneakers.
Doesn't the Lord work in mysterious ways?
I'm trying to tell you,
doesn't the Lord work in mysterious ways?
And at the time, their director, Shannon, she says, it's so crazy. We get everything but sneakers. And here you are. Your main thing is sneakers.
And your daughter knew ahead of time the name.
Yes.
The Lord works.
Yes.
All you got to do is pay attention.
Yes. And so what we ended up doing is partnering with the Tassel Project. And so we came out of the, being the middle person. We would continue to do fundraisers and things like that and shoe drives, and Tassel would distribute throughout the district. But because our district is ginormous, 120,000 students just about, it's overwhelming when you think about distribution. And so with the Tassel Project distributing, throughout the district, if the schools even know about the Tassel Project, they are able to help those students in need. But what we found out is that there are a lot of North and West schools in the district who have not heard about the Tassel Project. So we focus now on them as well. And so those schools up north, Kathleen Elementary has become our North Hub. And so we love that they have been so amazing in saying, hey, you bring things here, and the 9 to 11 schools that are in the northern hub of the district, we will distribute. Those social workers, principals, APs, they can come over here and get whatever they need.
That's fantastic.
And so for us to, just recently, we donated about 150 pairs of sneakers.
Wow.
Every name brand you could think of, because we know from the principals, the social workers, the school counselors, the parents, even the students who are older in the high schools and middle schools, it changes everything.
And the students know, everybody knows, but what's being done about it?
Right. And so per Kaylen, we got rid of the middleman, which was the parent, and we go straight to the students. And so it's so cool because it's also an incentive, if they know about those shoes, the counselors and the teachers, you can incentivize a student by saying, hey, get to class on time, turn that report in, And so we don't just donate sneakers now in socks and hygiene items. We do little gifts and gift cards and things like that. So if teachers need to incentivize their students, they know in that closet, in that classroom that's locked, they can go in there
at their discretion.
And at their discretion, we're per principal, and get whatever incentives they need to make sure their students are doing well.
Did the word get out to the other students that, hey, I got an A, and they gave me shoes, so the word got out to the students?
Yes. And so our last component is grief therapy. Of course, having teenagers at home and young adults, siblings, who lost Kaylen. That grief journey looks really, really different. And then when you go back to school after losing a sibling or a parent or grandparent or whatever, and you were very, very close to them, grief looks very, very different. And so peer pressure is one thing, and then grief is one thing. And peer pressure is going to happen regardless. It doesn't even matter.
It's teenage thing.
Yeah, and it's not even a teenage thing. It's a thing, period, because adults deal with peer pressure too. But what we notice with our children is, from Kennedy, who was in 8th grade, to our oldest, everybody grieves differently, but we all, in some manner, needed support. We needed we needed to grieve outside of the family structure. We needed to grieve in a way that was peaceful and safe, and we didn't have to feel like, we were okay because we didn't want our family member to be sad. And so now we are offering grief therapy to students. So we have put together, I would say, a consortium of about 12 different counselors. And so
They're professionals?
Yes, they're all certified licensed counselors here in the state of Florida. And some are social workers, some are masters, with their masters, some are doctors of social work. And every quarter we will have a grief therapy day where it'll be a retreat of sorts, a whole day retreat. We'll start at maybe 9 in the morning and go, until 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And we'll have different, what we'll call a round robin. And so we'll have 4 different components. One is physical activity. One is art therapy. One is music therapy. And the final one is talk therapy, meaning that you'll sit down with a counselor or a therapist and just get some great time to share where your heart is.
Communication.
And to purge how you feel and speak about it and talk about the anger and the survivor's guilt. It's a big, big deal, And so we actually have our focus group. Our first focus group will be this weekend, the 16th. And so we have
December?
Yes. Yeah. This weekend. And so it's in a private location where we have, therapists coming, and we have students from 3 different schools, elementary all the way to high school, who will be with us. And those therapists will come and we'll do the each round robin. Each section is 30 minutes long. And then we'll take a break, have lunch, and then we'll do our final 2, and then we'll do a bonfire. And just some of those things that we know are kind of eating us up and we're having a hard time with. We want to get help. We want to get support. And our foundation will pay for the first therapy session outside of the grief retreat.
And they're donating their time for the...
Not necessarily. They're giving us a great discount.
Okay, that's good.
But it's not free.
Okay.
But we, as we're raising funds for the Jazz Festival, we also have some private donors who have paid for and pretty much sponsored the grief retreat.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Yes. Yeah.
So tell me more about the Jazz Festival.
Woo!
It's free. It's in Munn Park,
yes.
right?
Yeah. Well, it's free to the person, but it's not free to put on. So we have wonderful, wonderful sponsors who have been so gracious. And so instead of our foundation going out and spending, $5,000 to $7,000, over the next few weeks to buy sneakers to distribute throughout Polk, Osceola, and Hillsborough County, we're asking every participant to bring at least 1 pair of sneakers and 2 pair of socks. So there will be a shoe drive, and that shoe drive will really take care of what we normally do. So what we do, we focus on bringing this extremely cool community event via the Jazz Festival on Saturday and Sunday. And instead of charging, $50, $75, $150 for a whole 2-day weekend of live music, we're asking each participant to bring sneakers, socks, hygiene items.
And is there a size limit? Is there a preference?
Yeah, pre-K through 12th grade. Whatever those sizes are.
Boys and girls.
Boys and girls.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
And you guys this is the second or third annual?
This will be our 3rd year in Munn Park.
3rd year in Munn Park.
Yeah, our 3rd year in Munn Park.
And I think I seen something about if there's a rain issue, you can do something else.
Venue will be at Kathleen High School Auditorium. They're beautiful, beautiful auditorium. It's perfect for live music and concerts and the vendors, food trucks. We put in the parking lot and the vendors, the non-food vendors. We have a vendor row for them. So rain or shine, it's happening.
So rain or shine is happening. What else is going on? Did you bring your food trucks to the Munn Park that day?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so it's going to be a load of a regular market. Okay.
Yeah, if you kind of think of what downtown Lakeland puts on for the food truck rally, just add live jazz to that.
You go. There you go. That's fantastic.
Yes.
And I don't know how I missed it. I've been
You're
here 20 years. That's
You're
right.
in now.
Took me a while, but I got there.
Yes,
That's right.
Absolutely.
Well, it is a pleasure to be a part of it. And
Thank you.
I hope we really make a difference.
So do I.
Is there anything else? So where do they go? What website?
So it's Swan City Jazz Festival.com, SwanCityJazzFestival.com, and also the BlendedFamilyFoundation.com. So either of those .coms, you can donate, find out more information. You can sign up to volunteer. We still have about 7 slots where we need volunteers for both days. And so you can fill out the volunteer application, state your availability. If you want to sponsor as a corporation, as an individual, you can do that on either website as well.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Another fantastic help to our community.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes. We dove right in. We were only here about a year and 2 months, moving from the Midwest. But we found early on that what we thought we were coming here for is not why we are here.
Yeah.
And so we're here to make a difference. We're here to be agents of change. We're here to be a family that grieved in public, and we will recover in public.
Fantastic. Well, love is the answer.
Yes.
Making the world a better place is the answer. That I know for sure.
Absolutely. We need to reach out and touch somebody's hand and make the world a better place if we can, right?
Amen.
Amen.
That's right. God bless you.
You too.
Thank you, Miss Sunshine.
Thank you.